Every bad thing that ever happens is white people's fault. And slavery. White people and slavery. The Nazis, they were white people, and that's white people's fault. The fact black Americans are 7% of the population but kill 50% of the people, white people's fault. How is that white people's fault? Because slavery historically marginalized communities. Historically marginalized communities. What does that mean? Well, in history, black people have been oppressed and marginalized. Oh, you mean how 1.5 million white Europeans were taken as slaves by Barbary pirates in North Africa? No, white people were never taken as slaves. Yes, they were. 1.5 million of them in North Africa. Historically marginalized. No, everything is white people's fault. How about the fact that virtually 100% of white people before 100 or 200 years ago were also marginalised, whatever the fuck marginalised means, because the only people that had power was the king and aristocracy, a handful of people. Everyone was completely fucked. Historically marginalised communities. Everyone in history was a marginalised community. But let's take the word community, as we've already covered on this podcast. Community is a bullshit word. It doesn't mean anything. You're grouping people together, usually by arbitrary, immutable characteristics. Just because two people are white or black doesn't mean they have fucking anything in common. So I'm going to destroy the word community right there. That doesn't matter. Marginalised, so vague as to be meaningless. The fact that community doesn't exist destroys the entire premise of the argument anyway. So who's marginalised? Someone who happens to have the same eye colour as you? No one gives a fuck. It's irrelevant. This whole line of reasoning, historically marginal, we're oppressed, we're an oppressed group. There's no such thing as oppressed groups in the modern Western world. You don't see Jews fucking whinging about it. They get on with it. Jews were at least as oppressed, probably way more oppressed than black people ever have been. Constantly. By the left and the right, by almost every civilization in history. They kill it. They make lots of money. They do extremely well. They're not whinging. Black people fail more often than other races because of cultural problems in that community. Fatherlessness, not staying in school, having peers who are more likely to be criminals. It leads to a spiral of negativity. But plenty of black people have escaped this and are middle class and have done well for themselves. Mostly black people with two parents at home. The white community, something that doesn't exist, is no more to blame for black people doing badly than it is to thank for some black people doing well. It's up to the individual. If you stay in school, if you have two parents at home, you're orders of magnitude more likely to do better. So this historically marginalised communities, the whole premise is bullshit. Community is bullshit. Historically marginalised, everyone was historically marginalised. So trying to blame white people for everything it's like the Nazis trying to blame everything on the Jews. You're in some kind of delusional world of fantasy. It's a mental illness. But the left is basically fuck whites. There's a fuck whites agenda on the left. And everything bad that's ever happened in human history is the white community's fault. There's no fucking such thing as the white community, the black community. There's no such thing as a community. Group guilt. The premise is bullshit. So no, nothing is white people's fault. There is no white people's fault, because that's just an arbitrary group of millions, hundreds and millions, billions of people that have existed in history that have almost fucking nothing to do with each other. Look at individuals. Take responsibility for your own life. The fuck whites agenda is just racist. It would be just as bad as a fuck blacks agenda. People are individuals. They're responsible for what they do.